Hey everyone, welcome back to the English Learning Podcast. I'm your host, Jason, and today's episode is super exciting because we're talking about something really important for all English learners out there: how to think fast and talk smart.
Hi everyone, I'm Julia, your co-host. It's great to be here.
So, Julia, when we say think fast, what are we really talking about?
Good question. Thinking fast is all about being able to respond quickly and clearly when you're speaking, especially in conversations where you don't have much time to plan what you're going to say.
Exactly. It's like you don't always have the luxury to stop, think for a minute, and then talk, right? Especially in real-world situations like casual conversations, meetings, or even interviews.
Right. And for English learners, this is even more important, because sometimes when you're trying to translate every word in your head before you speak, it slows you down and makes you feel nervous.
Yeah, I've seen that happen a lot. It's like your brain is running a marathon while you're just trying to say a simple sentence.
That's so true. And you know what? People often think, oh, I must speak perfectly. But in real conversations, speed and clarity matter more than perfect grammar.
Absolutely. Think about it when you're ordering food at a restaurant or meeting someone new. You don't need to sound like an English professor. You just need to connect and communicate clearly.
Yes, and fast thinking helps you do that. It helps you stay in the conversation instead of feeling lost or stuck.
And it builds confidence too. The more you can respond naturally, the more you feel like, hey, I can do this.
Exactly. And even native speakers don't speak perfectly all the time. We all make little mistakes. It's really more about flow and connection.
I love that flow and connection. That's the real goal.
And one quick story here: when I was first learning Spanish, I remember being so slow at answering simple questions. Like someone would ask, "How are you?" And I'd pause for 5 seconds thinking, wait, what's the correct way to answer?
I've been there too, learning French. It's such a weird feeling when your brain freezes.
Yeah, but over time, as I stopped worrying about being perfect and focused more on just responding naturally, it got easier and more fun.
That's the key: responding naturally. And that's what today's episode is all about: helping you think faster, talk smarter, and enjoy English conversations more.
Yep. So let's dive into some common challenges that make it hard to think fast and what we can.
All right, so before we jump into the solutions, let's be real for a second. Thinking fast and talking smart isn't easy for everyone.
Definitely not. Especially for people learning a second language, there are a lot of challenges that can slow you down.
Yeah. One big challenge is fear of making mistakes. When you're scared of saying something wrong, your brain just kind of freezes, right?
Totally. It's like your brain goes, warning, don't speak until everything is perfect. And by the time you figure out the perfect sentence, the moment is gone.
So true. And honestly, even native speakers say, or make grammar mistakes sometimes. It's totally normal.
Exactly. I think it's important to remember that real conversations are messy sometimes, and that's okay.
Another big challenge is overthinking. Have you ever had that moment where you think about what you're going to say, and then you think about how the other person might react, and then you end up saying nothing?
Oh yes, it's like a whole movie is playing in your head instead of just having a simple conversation.
Exactly. Overthinking makes you slower because you're too busy analyzing instead of responding naturally.
And then there's the language barrier itself. When English isn't your first language, it's easy to get stuck searching for the right words or translating from your native language.
Right. And that extra step, translating, slows everything down. It's like trying to drive with the brakes on.
Good example. And sometimes, even if you know the right word, you hesitate because you're not sure if you're pronouncing it right or if the grammar is perfect.
Yep. So you double-check everything in your head. which again makes you slower and more nervous.
I remember once, early on, I was trying to have a quick chat with a tourist from France, and I wanted to say something simple like, "Welcome to our country." But I got so nervous trying to make it sound perfect that I just smiled awkwardly and said nothing.
Oh, that's relatable. I've had moments like that too, especially during language exchanges, where you feel this pressure to show how good you are.
Yeah, the pressure makes it harder to think clearly.
Another small but important challenge is lack of practice. If you don't practice speaking often, your brain isn't used to responding quickly. It's like a muscle you haven't exercised in a while.
Exactly. If you only listen to English but never speak it out loud, it feels much harder when you need to think fast during a real conversation.
Right. So, fear of mistakes, overthinking, language barriers, and lack of speaking practice, these are the big challenges we all face.
But the good news is these challenges can be overcome, and we're going to show you how.
Yep. Next up, we're diving into some simple but powerful techniques to help you think faster and talk smarter.
Stay with us, it's going to be fun.
All right. Now, the exciting part, let's talk about how to actually think fast and speak smart. Because yes, it's a skill you can absolutely build.
Yes, and we're going to share some simple techniques that really work, no complicated textbooks or boring grammar drills needed.
Exactly. So, technique number 1, practice. Thinking in English. Instead of translating from your native language into English, try to create thoughts directly in English.
Yes, it can be really simple, like when you're walking outside, just describe what you see in English in your mind. That's a beautiful tree. The weather is nice today. I'm feeling hungry.
I do that too sometimes. It feels silly at first, but over time, your brain gets faster because you're training it to skip the translation step.
Exactly. Your brain gets used to staying in English mode instead of switching back and forth.
All right. Technique number 2. Use simple language. You don't need big fancy words to sound smart. Clear, simple sentences are usually the best.
Yes! A lot of English learners think they need to use complicated words to impress people. But honestly, simple is powerful. It's better to say, "I don't agree," than to try to remember some complicated phrase and get stuck.
Totally. Focus on being clear, not complicated.
Okay, technique number 3. Learn chunks of language. Instead of learning single words, learn groups of words that go together like "nice to meet you" or "can you help me with this?"
That's such a great tip. When you know common phrases, you don't have to build a sentence from scratch every time. You just grab a ready-to-use chunk from your memory.
Exactly. It saves time and makes you sound much more natural.
Technique number 4. Practice with time pressure. This one is fun. Set a timer for 30 seconds and try to talk about a random topic without stopping.
Oh, I love this exercise. You can pick easy topics like my favorite food, a movie I watched recently, or even what I see around me right now.
The goal isn't to be perfect, it's to keep talking. Even if you make mistakes, you're training your brain to think and speak quickly.
Right. It's like working out at the gym. The more you practice with a little bit of pressure, the stronger and faster your speaking muscles get.
Okay. Next one, technique number 5. Use fillers smartly. Words like, "well, you know," "actually," or "let me think" can buy you time when you need a second to organize your thoughts.
Yes, native speakers do this all the time. Like if someone asks, "What's your favorite book?" and you need a moment, you can say, "Well, that's a good question," while you think.
Exactly. Fillers keep the conversation flowing naturally, even if you're pausing.
And our last technique for now, stay relaxed. The more relaxed you are, the easier it is to think quickly.
Yes, stress slows your brain down. If you're nervous, it's harder to find words. But if you stay calm, ideas flow faster.
Take a deep breath, smile, and remember it's just a conversation, not a test.
Exactly. You're not being graded. The goal is to connect, not to be perfect.
So to quickly review: 1. Think in English. 2. Use simple language. 3. Learn chunks. 4. Practice under time pressure. 5. Use fillers. 6. And stay relaxed.
That's your action plan to think fast and talk smart.
And trust us, the more you practice, the more natural it becomes.
Exactly. And speaking of practice in the next part, we're going to share some fun and easy exercises you can do at home to build these skills every day.
It's going to be fun. Don't go anywhere.
All right, so now you know the techniques. But how do you really train yourself to think faster, not just once, but every day?
Yeah, because thinking fast is just like building a muscle. You need to exercise it regularly.
Exactly. So one way to practice fast thinking is what I like to call the 5-second idea game.
Ooh, that sounds interesting. Tell us how it works.
Okay, it's simple. Pick a random topic, like travel or food, and give yourself just 5 seconds to start speaking about it. No long thinking, no planning, just go.
I love that. It forces your brain to move quickly, even if you don't feel ready.
Exactly. And it doesn't matter if it's messy. The goal is speed first, polishing later.
Another fun practice is word association. Someone says a word like apple, and you have to immediately say the first word that comes to your mind, maybe red or fruit or sweet.
Yes, word association is a classic way to train fast connections in your brain. It keeps you sharp and helps you avoid that frozen feeling when speaking.
And here's one more mini story challenge. You pick 3 random words like dog, beach, and happy, and you have 1 minute to make up a mini story using all 3 words.
That's such a good exercise. It's fun, it's silly, and it really gets your brain moving fast in English.
Exactly. And remember, it's okay if your story sounds weird or funny. The point is thinking quickly, connecting ideas, and speaking without fear.
Right? The more you practice exercises like these, the faster and more confident you'll get in real conversations.
And you don't even need a partner. You can practice these by yourself anywhere, anytime.
Absolutely. 5 minutes a day can make a huge difference over time.
So challenge yourself: 5-second ideas, word association, and mini stories. It's fun, and your English brain will thank you.
Coming up next, we're going to share tips on how to stay calm and focused under pressure when you need to think fast in real-life situations.
You don't want to miss it.
All right, now let's talk about something super important: mindset. Because honestly, your thinking speed and speaking skills can only go so far if your mindset isn't helping you.
That's so true. A smart speaker isn't just someone who knows a lot of words, it's someone who believes they can express themselves clearly and confidently.
Exactly. So the first mindset tip: focus on connection, not perfection. When you're speaking, your goal isn't to say every word perfectly, it's to connect with the other person.
Yes, and when you stop worrying about tiny mistakes, you actually sound more natural and confident.
Right. Mindset. Tip number 2. Be comfortable with silence. It's okay to pause for a second to think. You don't have to fill every single moment with words.
Absolutely. Sometimes a short pause makes you sound even smarter because it shows you're thinking carefully before you speak.
Exactly. It's better to pause and give a clear answer than to rush and get lost in your words.
Mindset tip number 3, talk to yourself positively. If you keep thinking, I'm bad at English or I can't speak fast enough, it becomes true in your mind.
Yes. Instead, say things like, I'm improving every day, or it's okay to speak slowly, I'm getting better.
Positive self-talk really helps your brain stay relaxed and confident.
And final mindset tip: celebrate progress, not perfection. Every time you speak English, even if it's not perfect, you're getting stronger.
Exactly. Small wins lead to big success. Every conversation, every attempt, every practice session, it all adds up.
So remember, focus on connection. Be comfortable with silence. Talk positively to yourself and celebrate every step forward.
Mindset is powerful, use it to your advantage.
Coming up next, we're going to wrap things up with a quick summary and a little challenge for all of you listening.
Get ready, it's going to be fun.
All right, before we wrap up, let's quickly talk about something important. How do you actually build fast thinking skills over time? Because honestly, it doesn't happen overnight.
Exactly. Fast thinking is a skill, and like any skill, it needs consistent practice. You have to train your brain a little bit every day.
Right. So, first tip, make it a daily habit. Just like brushing your teeth, practice fast thinking, even if it's for just 5 minutes a day.
You could do a quick word association, a mini story challenge, or even try answering random questions you find online fast and without preparation.
Yes. And second tip, push yourself gently. Don't be too hard on yourself if you get stuck sometimes. Challenge yourself, but keep it fun, not stressful.
Exactly. Learning works better when you're enjoying it, not when you're afraid of making mistakes.
Third tip, track your progress. Every week, notice small wins like speaking a little faster, feeling less nervous, or finding the right words more easily.
Because when you see how much you're improving over time, it motivates you to keep going.
And remember, fast thinking is not about being perfect. It's about being ready, flexible, and confident no matter what happens in the conversation.
That's so important to remember. Building fast thinking is a journey, and every step you take makes you stronger.
Absolutely. Keep practicing, keep smiling, and trust yourself you're better than you think. All right, as we come to the end of today's episode, let's quickly review what we've learned.
We talked about why thinking fast matters, common challenges people face, techniques to think fast and speak smart, how to practice fast thinking every day, and the right mindset for smart speaking.
Exactly. And remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about being ready, calm, and confident when you speak.
Right. And building fast thinking skills is like building a muscle. A little practice every day leads to amazing results over time.
So keep practicing, stay positive, and celebrate your progress. Every conversation is a chance to grow.
And hey, thinking fast doesn't mean rushing. It means trusting yourself and communicating with heart and clarity.
Love that. And to everyone listening, you already have everything you need inside you. It's just a matter of practice and patience.
Exactly. Keep going. You're doing great.
And remember, fast thinking, smart speaking, and confident living, it all starts with believing in yourself. Before we go, if you enjoyed today's episode and found it helpful, make sure to subscribe to our podcast.
Yes, and don't forget to share this episode with your friends or anyone who wants to think fast and speak smart.
Also, we'd love to hear from you. Leave us a comment or a review telling us what tip helped you the most today.
And if you want more practice, check out our other episodes. We've got lots of great tips to help you improve even faster.
All right, that's it for today. Thanks for joining us, and remember, you are smarter and stronger than you think.
See you next time. Keep thinking fast and talking smart.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the English Learning Podcast. I'm Jason, and as always, I'm joined by my amazing co-host, Julia. How are you doing today, Julia?
I'm doing great, Jason. Excited about today's topic because I know it's something many English learners struggle with.
Absolutely. So, here's a question for you, our listeners. Do you often find yourself translating from your native language into English while speaking? If the answer is yes, Don't worry, you're not alone.
Yes, this is a very common problem. Many learners translate sentences in their heads before speaking, and that slows them down. It makes conversations difficult and sometimes even frustrating.
And that's exactly why today's episode is all about thinking in English instead of translating. We're going to share some practical tips that will help you train your brain to think directly in English, so you can speak more fluently and naturally.
That's right. And by the end of this episode, you'll have clear steps to stop translating and start thinking in English effortlessly.
So stick with us and let's dive right in. All right, let's get into it. Why do so many English learners translate in their heads before speaking?
Great question, Jason. One of the biggest reasons is habit. Most learners start by studying English through their native language, so their brain gets used to thinking in their first language first, then converting words into English.
Exactly. And that habit can be hard to break. Another reason is lack of confidence. When learners are not sure if they're using the right words or grammar, they feel the need to translate everything to make sure it's correct.
Yes, and that slows them down. Imagine if you're having a conversation but constantly pausing to translate. By the time you find the right words, the conversation has already moved on.
That's so true. It also makes speaking feel stressful instead of natural. And let's not forget about fear of making mistakes. Some learners think if they don't translate, they might say something wrong.
Right. But actually, trying to be too perfect makes it harder to improve. Language is all about communication, not perfection. Even native speakers make mistakes, but they don't stop to translate. They just keep going.
That's a great point. And here's something interesting. Our brain is naturally wired to learn languages through exposure, not translation. That's how babies learn. They don't translate words. They hear, understand, and use them directly.
Exactly. So if we want to speak English fluently, we have to train our brain to think in English instead of relying on translation.
And don't worry, we're going to show you how to do that. But before that, let's talk about why thinking in English is so important for fluency. All right, now that we understand why many learners translate in their heads, let's talk about why you should train your brain to think directly in English. Julie. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the English Learning Podcast. I'm Jason, and as always, I'm joined by my amazing co-host, Julia. How are you doing today, Julia?
I'm doing great, Jason. Excited about today's topic because I know it's something many English learners struggle with.
Absolutely. So, here's a question for you, our listeners. Do you often find yourself translating from your native language into English while speaking? If the answer is yes, don't worry. You're not alone.
Yes, this is a very common problem. Many learners translate sentences in their heads before speaking, and that slows them down. It makes conversations difficult and sometimes even frustrating.
And that's exactly why today's episode is all about thinking in English instead of translating. We're going to share some practical tips that will help you train your brain to think directly in English, so you can speak more fluently and naturally.
That's right. And by the end of this episode, you'll have clear steps to stop translating and start thinking in English effortlessly.
So stick with us and let's dive right in. All right, let's get into it. Why do so many English learners translate in their heads before speaking?
Great question, Jason. One of the biggest reasons is habit. Most learners start by studying English through their native language, so their brain gets used to thinking in their first language first, then converting words into English.
Exactly. And that habit can be hard to break. Another reason is lack of confidence. When learners are not sure if they're using the right words or grammar, they feel the need to translate everything to make sure it's correct.
Yes, and that slows them down. Imagine if you're having a conversation but constantly pausing to translate. By the time you find the right words, the conversation has already moved on.
That's so true. It also makes speaking feel stressful instead of natural. And let's not forget about fear of making mistakes. Some learners think if they don't translate, they might say something wrong.
Right. But actually, trying to be too perfect makes it harder to improve. Language is all about communication, not perfection. Even native speakers make mistakes, but they don't stop to translate. They just keep going.
That's a great point. And here's something interesting. Our brain is naturally wired to learn languages through exposure, not translation. That's how babies learn. They don't translate words. They hear, understand, and use them directly.
Exactly. So if we want to speak English fluently, we have to train our brain to think in English instead of relying on translation.
And don't worry, we're going to show you how to do that. But before that, let's talk about why thinking in English is so important for fluency. All right, now that we understand why many learners translate in their heads, let's talk about why you should train your brain to think directly in English. Julia, what's one of the biggest benefits of thinking in English?
Well, the most obvious one is fluency. When you stop translating, your speech becomes faster and more natural. You don't have to pause and think about every word. You just speak.
That's a great point. Think about how native speakers talk. They don't stop and translate. They just express their thoughts instantly. And if you can train your brain to do that, your conversations will feel much smoother.
Exactly. Another benefit is better listening skills. When you think in English, your brain gets used to processing English words and phrases quickly, which helps you understand spoken English much better.
That's so true. A lot of learners struggle with listening because they're still thinking in their native language. But when you start thinking in English, it becomes easier to catch words, phrases, and even different accents.
Right. And here's another benefit: better confidence. When you stop relying on translation, you trust yourself more. You don't get stuck worrying about whether your sentence is perfect. You just communicate naturally.
And confidence makes a huge difference. Think about it. When you hesitate and translate, you feel nervous. But when you think in English, you feel more in control of the conversation.
Absolutely. And here's something really interesting. Thinking in English also helps with memory and retention. When you learn words and phrases in English and use them in your thoughts, your brain remembers them much better than if you were just memorizing translations.
Yes! Instead of memorizing word lists and their meanings in your language, you actually start using the words in real-life situations. That's what makes them stick.
So, to sum it up, thinking in English helps you speak faster, listen better, feel more confident, and remember words more effectively. And the best part? Anyone can train their brain to do it.
That's right. And in the next section, we'll give you some powerful techniques to help you start thinking in English today. Stay with us. All right, now comes the most important part. How do you actually train your brain to think in English? Julia, where should we start?
Let's start with something simple: naming objects around you in English. This is an easy exercise you can do anytime. Just look around and say the names of things you see in English. For example, if you're in your room, you can think bed, lamp, window, notebook, phone.
That's a great tip. And if you want to take it further, try making simple sentences about what's happening. Like, instead of just saying lamp, you could think the lamp is on. Or, I need to turn off the lamp before I sleep.
Exactly. This way, you start forming English sentences in your mind even when you're not speaking out loud. And that leads to the next strategy, describing your daily routine in English.
Oh, I love this one. Throughout your day, try to describe what you're doing in English. For example, in the morning, you can think I'm brushing my teeth. Now I'm making coffee. I need to check my emails.
Yes, even if you don't say these sentences out loud, just thinking them in English helps your brain get used to the language. And speaking of sentences, another great strategy is talking to yourself in English.
That's a fun one. It might feel strange at first, but talking to yourself in English, either in your head or out loud, really helps. You can ask yourself questions like, "What should I eat for lunch?" or "What do I need to do today?" and then answer them in English.
Yes, and don't worry about making mistakes. No one is listening. The goal is just to train your brain to respond in English without translating.
That's a great point. And here's another useful trick: reducing dictionary dependence. Instead of looking up translations in your native language, try to find the meaning in English.
Right. For example, if you don't know the word excited, instead of translating it to your language, think of a definition like feeling very happy and energetic about something. This way, you learn English in English.
Yes, and another excellent strategy is using English for small decisions. For example, when you're planning your grocery shopping, make a list in English. Or when you check the time, say in your head, "It's 2:30 p.m., I have a meeting soon."
That's a great habit. And of course, one of the best ways to train your brain is immersing yourself in English content, watching English videos, listening to English podcasts, or reading simple English articles.
Yes, and here's an important tip. Try not to use subtitles in your native language. Instead, watch with English subtitles or no subtitles at all. This helps your brain understand words naturally.
Absolutely. The more you surround yourself with English, the faster you'll start thinking in it. So, to summarize, name objects, describe your actions, talk to yourself, use English definitions, make small decisions in English, and immerse yourself in English content.
Exactly. These are powerful techniques, and if you practice them every day, you'll stop translating and start thinking in English naturally.
And up next, we'll talk about some common challenges learners face when trying to think in English and how to overcome them.
All right, now we know how to start thinking in English, but let's be honest, it's not always easy. Julia, what are some common challenges learners face?
One of the biggest challenges is thinking too much about grammar. Many learners worry, am I using the right tense? Is this sentence correct? And that slows them down.
That's a great point. Overthinking grammar can make you feel stuck. The best way to overcome this is to focus on communication, not perfection. Even native speakers make grammar mistakes, but they don't stop talking because of it.
Exactly. Another big challenge is lack of vocabulary. Sometimes learners want to express something, but they don't know the right words, so they switch back to their native language.
Oh yes, I hear this a lot. The trick here is to use simple words. Instead of "Hello and welcome back to the English Learning Podcast." I'm Jason, your host, and with me today is my co-host, Julia.
Hi everyone, we're so excited to have you here. Today, we have a really important topic to discuss, one that can truly change the way you learn and speak English.
That's right. Think in English or stay stuck. Have you ever noticed that when you speak English, you pause a lot because you're translating from your native language? If so, you might be stuck in the habit of thinking in your native language first, and that could be slowing you down.
Exactly. Many learners struggle with this. They try to translate every sentence in their head before speaking, which makes their English sound unnatural and slow. But today, we're going to help you break free from this habit.
In this episode, we'll discuss why thinking in English is important, how you can train your brain to do it, and practical techniques that will help you speak more fluently and confidently.
So, if you've ever felt stuck, frustrated, or too slow when speaking English, this episode is for you. Stay with us until the end because we'll even give you a special challenge to help you start thinking in English right away.
Let's get started. So, Julia, let's start with the big question. Why do most English learners think in their native language first, instead of in English?
Well, Jason, it's completely natural. We grow up using our native language for everything, thinking, speaking, and even dreaming. So when someone learns English as a second language, their brain is still wired to process thoughts in their first language before translating them into English.
That makes sense. But here's the problem. Translation takes time. When you think in your native language first, your brain has to 1. Create the sentence in your native language. 2. Translate it into English. 3. Check if it sounds right. 4. Then finally, say it out loud.
And by that time, the conversation has already moved on. That's why so many learners feel slow, nervous, or even stuck when speaking English.
Exactly. But when you think directly in English, you can respond faster, more naturally, and with more confidence. Imagine having a conversation where you don't have to stop and translate. You just speak. That's fluency.
And not just fluency, it also helps with pronunciation and word choice. When you translate, you might pick words that don't fit naturally in English. But when you think in English, you learn to use words the way native speakers do.
Great point. In fact, many advanced English learners say that the moment they started thinking in English was when they saw the biggest improvement in their speaking skills.
I actually know someone who experienced this. A friend of mine, Maria, used to translate everything in her head before speaking English. She was always nervous and felt like her English was slow, but once she started training her brain to think in English, she felt more confident, and her speaking speed doubled.
Wow, that's inspiring. And that's exactly what we want for our listeners too. If you want to speak fluently, naturally, and confidently, you need to train your brain to think in English. And don't worry, we're going to show you exactly how to do that in this episode.
Yes, but first, let's help our listeners figure out if they're still stuck translating. What are the signs that someone is not thinking in English yet?
Great question. Let's go over that in the next section. All right, now that we know why thinking in English is so important, let's talk about the signs that show you might still be stuck translating in your head. Julia, what's the first sign?
The first sign is pausing too long before speaking. Have you ever been in a conversation where someone asks you a simple question like, "What did you do yesterday?" But instead of answering right away, you freeze for a few seconds, trying to translate the answer from your native language into English?
Yes. And by the time you finally speak, the moment has passed, and the conversation feels awkward. This is a big clue that your brain is still thinking in your first language first.
Exactly. And that brings us to the second sign. You struggle to form sentences quickly. Even if you know a lot of English words, your sentences still come out slowly and sometimes feel unnatural.
That's because your brain is working in 2 steps. First, forming the sentence in your native language, then translating it into English. Instead of speaking freely, you're doing extra mental work.
Right. And here's another sign. You often feel nervous or frustrated when speaking. If you constantly worry about whether your sentence is correct, it might be because you're trying to match it exactly with the sentence in your native language.
Yes, but languages don't always translate perfectly. A sentence that makes sense in your first language might sound strange in English, and this can make people lose confidence in their speaking skills.
That's so true. And the fourth sign, You choose unnatural words because you're translating directly from your native language. Have you ever heard someone say something in English that sounds a little strange, even though the words are technically correct?
Oh, yes. Like when someone says, open the light, instead of turn on the light. That's a direct translation from some languages.
Exactly. This happens when people translate word for word instead of thinking in English and using the phrases that native speakers actually say.
Great examples. So, if you find yourself pausing too much, struggling to form sentences, feeling nervous, or using unnatural words, chances are you're still stuck translating.
But don't worry, we're going to help you fix this. In the next part, we'll give you practical tips to start thinking in English right away.
Yes! Let's get into the step-by-step methods to train your brain to think in English. Stay with us! All right? Now that we've talked about why thinking in English is important and how to tell if you're still translating, let's move on to the most important part, how to actually train your brain to think in English. Julia, what's the first tip?
The first tip is start with simple words and sentences. If you're not used to thinking in English, don't start with complex ideas. Begin with basic words and phrases you already know. For example, when you wake up, think I'm getting out of bed. I'm brushing my teeth. I'm making coffee. Just narrate your daily activities in English.
That's a great start. The second tip is label things around you. If you're in your room, look around and name objects in English. This is my laptop. That's my phone. I have a cup of tea. This helps your brain connect English words directly to objects instead of translating from your native language.
Exactly. And that leads to the third tip. Talk to yourself in English. If you don't have a conversation partner, be your own partner. Try describing what you see, what you're doing, or even what you're thinking. For example, if you're walking outside, you can say, "The weather is nice today. I need to buy some groceries. I feel happy right now." This builds your confidence and helps you think naturally in English.
That's such a powerful method. And here's another fun way. Think in English before sleeping. At the end of the day, take 1 or 2 minutes to reflect on your day in English. Ask yourself, what did I do today? What was the best part of my day? What do I plan to do tomorrow? By doing this daily, your brain will start to automatically switch to English mode.
Yes, and let's not forget the power of imagination. If you don't have a real conversation partner, imagine one. Think of a topic and pretend you're talking to someone in English. For example, imagine you're meeting a friend and having a conversation like, "Hey, how was your weekend? Oh, I went to the park. It was great." Practicing this way prepares your brain for real conversations.
I love that. Here's another useful technique. Change the language of your devices. If your phone, laptop, or social media apps are in English, your brain will automatically get used to seeing and thinking in English throughout the day.
Yes, small changes like that make a big difference. And speaking of small changes, surround yourself with English as much as possible. Listen to English podcasts, watch English videos, and read simple English articles. The more you expose yourself to English, the easier it becomes to think in English.
Absolutely. And one last tip. Be patient and consistent. Thinking in English is like a muscle. You have to train it every day. But if you practice these techniques regularly, your brain will naturally start thinking in English without effort.
That's right. So let's quickly review the tips. 1. Start with simple words and sentences. 2. Label things around you. 3. Talk to yourself in English. 4. Think in English before sleeping. 5. Imagine conversations. 6. Change the language on your devices. 7. Surround yourself with English every day. 8. Be patient and consistent.
Perfect! Now, let's move on to a special challenge to help you start thinking in English right away. Now, let's talk about something really important: mental barriers. Many learners struggle to think in English not just because of vocabulary or grammar, but because of fear, self-doubt, and negative thinking. Julia, what do you think is one of the biggest mental barriers?
The first one is fear of making mistakes. Many learners worry that if they think or speak in English, they will make a mistake and people will laugh at them. But here's the truth: mistakes are part of learning.
Absolutely. Every time you make a mistake, you learn something new. Even native speakers make mistakes. The key is to focus on communication, not perfection. Instead of thinking, "What if I say something wrong?" try thinking, "How can I express my idea?"
That's a great mindset shift. Another big barrier is lack of confidence. Many learners think, "My English isn't good enough," or "I'll never be fluent." But confidence comes from practice, not perfection. The more you practice thinking in English, the more natural it will feel.
Yes. And here's a simple trick. Use positive self-talk. Instead of saying, "I'm bad at English," say, "I'm improving every day." Instead of, "I can't think in English," say, "I'm training my brain to think in English." Your words shape your mindset.
That's so powerful. Another mental barrier is translating out of habit. Many learners have spent years translating in their heads, so their brain automatically does it. But the good news is, you can train your brain to stop translating by practicing the tips we shared earlier.
Exactly. And the final barrier is getting discouraged too easily. Learning a language is a journey, and sometimes progress feels slow. But remember, every small step counts. Even if you think in English for just 5 minutes a day, you're making progress.
That's right. So, to overcome mental barriers: 1. Don't fear mistakes, they help you learn. 2. Build confidence by practicing regularly. 3. Use positive self-talk to stay motivated. 4. Break the habit of translating with daily practice. 5. Be patient and trust the process.
Yes, thinking in English is not about being perfect, it's about making progress. Now, let's move on to our final section, a summary and final encouragement for our listeners. All right, listeners, before we wrap up, we have a special challenge for you. If you really want to start thinking in English, you need to take action. So, Julia, what's the challenge?
Here's your challenge. For the next 24 hours, try to think in English as much as possible. No translating, just simple English thoughts. And we'll break it down into 3 levels. Beginner level: name objects around you in English. For example, this is my phone. That's a cup of coffee. Intermediate level: describe your actions throughout the day. I'm walking to the store. I'm making lunch. Advanced level: have a full conversation with yourself in English. Imagine talking to a friend about your day.
That's a great way to practice. And to make it even better, we want you to write a short journal entry in English before you go to bed. Just 1 or 2 sentences about your day, no matter how simple. This will help your brain start thinking in English naturally.
Yes, and if you want extra practice, leave a comment below this podcast with your English thoughts or a short sentence about your day. We'd love to hear from you.
That's right. Thinking in English is a skill, and like any skill, it improves with daily practice. So, take this challenge and start training your brain today.
You've got this. Keep practicing, stay patient, and soon thinking in English will feel completely natural.
That's it for today's episode. Thank you for joining us, and remember, think in English or stay stuck. See you in the next episode. All right, everyone. That brings us to the end of today's episode. We've covered why thinking in English is important, how to stop translating, practical tips to train your brain, and ways to overcome mental barriers. Now, it's your turn to take action.
Yes, start using the tips we shared and take the 24-hour challenge to think in English. Remember, small daily practice leads to big improvements.
And if you found this podcast helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more English learning content. Also, leave a comment below and tell us, what's one thing you'll do today to start thinking in English?
We love hearing from you, so stay connected and keep practicing. See you in the next episode.
Until next time, keep thinking in English.